Welcome to Spooky Southcoast.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
From the Spooky Southcoast, Tim Weisberg here, along with science advisor Matt Moniz, and the Mayan long count calendar was either inaccurate or our assumption of what it meant was inaccurate. I'm going to go with door number 2.
I would go door number 2 as well.
So we are still here. December 21st, 2012 came and went, and I did not see John Cusack floating by my house in a giant ocean liner. So I'm going to assume that the world did not end. You know what happens is my ability to hear on these headphones. I can't hear crap in these things, but we'll fight our way through it tonight. I'll switch them up or something at some point.
Mine are fine.
Well, yours are plugged into there, so hopefully everybody can hear everything just fine in the chat room on Spooky
nice
TV at
ones.
SpookySouthcoast.com. They're not that nice. They're costs.
They're new and nice for here in the studio.
They look nice, but they're like the worst brand ever. I am wearing Bose QC15s, so I'm very upset if it's these. I think it's just my patch cord, so they'll be fine. So, you know what to get me for Christmas then? A new patch cord.
Exactly.
We always need those. Patch cords, adapters, USB cables, everything. Speaking of which, if you would like to make a donation for the holiday season to Spooky Southcoast, just PayPal it on over to tim@SpookySouthcoast.com. Because it is the end of the year, we do have to pay for our website and our podcasting fees. So if you want to help out, every little bit helps. Just send a gift donation via PayPal to tim@SpookySouthcoast.com, and we will put it to good use. There's our little public broadcasting spot for the year. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things tonight. We were originally supposed to have 3 different guests join us for a 3-hour Mayan Calendar postgame show. That's what I was calling it. But for some reason, all 3 of our guests couldn't join us. And I'm hoping, as I said on Facebook, wouldn't it be ironic if they were like 3 people that didn't make it? But I'm sure that they're all fine. I hope that they're all fine. We will proceed on without them, though, because they are unable to join us. Maybe it's because, it's that whole Harold Camping thing where, they make a prediction, and then when it comes and goes, they want to take a little time before they come back, and they got to rework their strategy a bit. I don't know. I haven't read the books from the 3 gentlemen that were going to join us, so I'm not sure about what their approach was to the 2012 question. But I know that there was a lot of theories out there that we would have an alignment of the planets that would cause some sort of pole shift. Now, we would have known about that, of course, long before December 21st. We would have been warned about that by scientists for decades leading up to it, I would assume, if that was going to happen. There was going to be the other possibility that there would be a huge sunstorm that would basically wipe out the sun and therefore us. I also think we would have had some sort of hints to that ahead of time. And then, of course, the most popular theory amongst our crowd, our type of listeners and guests and things like that, is that it would be some sort of shift in consciousness. And, of course, that is something that we won't know for a long time. But I can tell you as of right now, the world doesn't seem any more different to me today than it did Thursday. So,
Well, it seems the way things have been going, it's more a shift into unconsciousness, but, yeah.
Well, it's still the same. I mean, maybe it's because it's the hustle and bustle of the holiday season that people are either go both. They go one of 2 ways. They're either the outright, embodiment of holiday cheer, or they are the outright embodiment of bah humbug. You're either hugging everybody that you meet, or you're punching them in the face to get the last Skylanders Giants game at Walmart. So it's one or the other. And to that old man that I punched, I'm very sorry. I didn't realize that you couldn't take a punch. So better luck next year, buddy. I got the last one. All right, anyway. So also tonight we are going to be giving away. We have 2 pairs of tickets to Edaville, USA, which, for those who are listening,
Your station for the South Coast.
Oh, hey, thanks for that.
AM 1420 WBSM.
I think I would have remembered to turn that off. But for anybody that's outside of our immediate listening area here on the terrestrial station, WBSM, or who may be listening on Spooky TV, SpookySouthCoast.com, or via the podcasts of our show or the YouTube archive video, you might not be familiar with Edaville, USA. It is it's a theme park, but it's not a typical theme park. It's a train park. It's dedicated to the railroad that was built by L.S.D. Atwood to service his cranberry bogs, and he would use it in the off-season to bring people around. And they used to have a big pond out there where people could go swimming, and he would bring them out on his train, and they would have a great day of summertime fun on Atwood's train line. It's the narrow gauge railroad. And in the 1950s, I believe it was turned into a wintertime amusement park as well, where a wintertime park where they would have the Festival of Lights. They would cover the grounds in the giant bulb Christmas lights, and they had all kinds of Christmas displays, and it became an annual holiday tradition for families around here. Well, in the late 80s, early 90s, it hit some financial struggles, as most places did during the recession of the early 90s, and it actually went out of business for a number of years. And in 1997, it reopened, and since then it's been going strong. And they're still working on trying to bring it back up to what it once was. But it's pretty amazing what they've been able to do over the years. And coming up in a little bit, we'll play an interview I recorded the other night with Suzanne Byron of the Edaville, USA Park, who updated us on some of the plans for Edaville and some of the things that are going on, and also talked to us about some of the post-Christmas celebrations that they have. Everybody around here knows that Edaville is a place to go for Christmas time activities, for holiday activities, but they're actually going to be open until January 6th. So they're going to have some things going on until then, and of course they also have their summertime events such as the Day Out with Thomas and all of that. Now, why am I talking about this on a paranormal radio show? Why am I promoting Edaville, USA? Well, aside from the fact that it's one of my favorite places in the world, and I'm an Edaville junkie, and I grew up on it, and I still enjoy going to it to this day, there's a paranormal connection to Edaville Railroad. It is said to be haunted by the spirit of L.S.D. Atwood, the founder of Edaville, who perished in a boiler explosion in the basement of the main building. There's also another building on the property where there has been multiple suicides that have taken place as well. That's not even to take into account all the spectral Native Americans that have been seen out along the train line. Some of the cranberry workers who are said to have perished in industrial accidents over the years, whose spirits still roam the grounds. All of the equipment that they brought into the museum, which probably carries its own ghosts and legends and lore with it as well.
Not to mention all the trains that are there that are historical, that have their own stories.
There used to be a time when Edaville was just running the train that Ellis Atwood purchased.
Right.
But they brought in so many different train cars over the years, and a lot of them were taken out when the park closed down. They were sold off to other parks. In fact, the original Edaville steam train, I believe, is in Maine, but they are running the steam train now on a limited run, Sundays through Wednesdays, I believe. We'll hear more about it in the interview. But they're in the process of trying to reacquire a lot of these pieces that were sold off, and they're also bringing in amusement park rides from other defunct parks. For example, the merry-go-round, the carousel, was from Gaslight Village in New York, which, of course, went under when a Six Flags opened up, like, literally a half a mile down the road. But that is a historic park in its own right. And think of all the... We usually associate haunted locations with some sort of negative emotion, but think of all the positive emotion that's been spent at Edaville over the years, and at any one of these parks. You know, we talk about Lincoln Park here locally being haunted, Rocky Point, the grounds of Rocky Point being haunted. It's because there's so much positive energy put out that energy can just as easily be retained and recorded and held and amplified as well as the negative can. I mean, I'm sure you've, in your many years of searching out the paranormal, you've probably encountered your fair share of positive haunts as well as negative.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Laughing ghosts are reported quite often. And, your basic happy-go-lucky type of haunting, where it's more mischievous and in a positive light. They help return things that get lost, or in some cases even saved lives. So, not all hauntings are of a negative nature. True.
Now, we also are talking about this because the kind folks at Edaville Railroad have been generous enough to give us 2 pairs of tickets to give away here on the show. And these are good for tomorrow. They're good for Monday, Christmas Eve. They're going to be closed Tuesday for the Christmas holiday. And then they're going to be open Wednesday through Sunday next week. Now, these tickets normally would not be good for Saturday because their promotional tickets aren't good for Saturdays because that's their busiest day. But I was informed by Suzanne that these tickets actually will be on it on Saturday if that's the day that you want to go. So if you win these tickets tonight, you'll be able to go to Edaville any day but Christmas Day. And you'll be able to get in 2 admissions for free. I believe it's $18 for just about everybody otherwise. It's well worth it because there's rides. You get the train ride included. There's the museum. There's so much to see and do there. We spent an hour just going on the Scrambler and the Tilt-A-Whirl and the bumper cars over and over again. And my son had his first Ferris wheel ride there, too, on Big Eli, their Ferris wheel. But, of course, my wife and I didn't take him because we're scared of heights. But Jen's friend Nicole was with us, and she took him up there while we watched nervously from the ground. But you can take these tickets. You can go anytime except Christmas Day. Here's the problem, though. If you want to go before Christmas, WBSM is not going to be open. So if you want to go before Christmas and you win these tickets, you're going to have to come down here tonight and pick them up. And I'll have you fill out a prize form and sign it, and I'll check your ID and all that kind of stuff. So you'll have to get here by midnight tonight to be able to pick up the tickets if you want to go by Christmas Day. Now, I understand most people are probably busy, so if you'd rather go sometime between Wednesday and next Sunday, then of course we'll leave them here and you can pick them up during regular business hours. So what we'll do is I'll throw out the phone numbers: 508-996-0500, 1-877-996-1420. Those are the numbers to call, and the first 2 people to call in during the interview that we're going to play with Suzanne Byron, you will win a pair of tickets to Edaville Railroad, and you really can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's a great surprise for the kids. It's a great stroll down memory lane for adults. So again, the numbers are 508-996-0500, 1-877-996-1420, and you can call anytime during the interview that we're going to play right now with Suzanne Byron of Edaville, USA. And if you don't win, there's still no reason to check out your opportunity before January 6th to go to Edaville Railroad, Edaville, USA, and experience it for yourself. So now let's go to the interview with Suzanne that was recorded earlier this week.
All right, well, we are with Suzanne Byron of Edaville Railroad, and we're going to talk about some of the exciting things that you can come here and check out. And phones are ringing off the hook here from everybody trying to get in. There's a nice line when I was coming in here. It helps that this is probably the best night of the week weather-wise, but I know I've been here in years past in snow and rain, and nothing seems to keep the people from coming out and having fun.
You're right about that, and particularly as we get close to Christmas, it gets busier and busier. This year, very special, we have a steam engine running every Sunday through Wednesday, so that's been drawing people in. We're actually we're running Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and both of those days are steam engine days. You know, those are actually great days to come to Edaville. It's not crazy busy. There's some families that have made it an annual tradition to come on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and we kind of hope other people want to make it a tradition too.
And how many years has it been since the park has reopened? It was closed for a while.
It was closed for a while in the 80s and 90s, and it opened again in 97. It's been open since then. We're currently in the process of a 3-year expansion project. So maybe by next summer we should have a 3-season park instead of a 2-season park.
Well, what are some of the plans with the expansion?
We're planning on particularly expanding our summer features. We have a flume, none of this is finalized yet, but we have a water flume ride, we have a bumper boats, and a water splash park in the works, as well as a wooden roller coaster.
Wow. And I know that in the past, a lot of the Edaville rides from years past have gone on to other parks, and I know that some of the rides that you brought in have come from other parks as well.
Absolutely.
It kind of helps keep alive the amusement park tradition.
It absolutely does. And in fact, just the other day, I was talking with someone. I was like, I remember this ride from my childhood at Lincoln Park. And it brought me back 100 years to my childhood at Lincoln Park.
If I'm right, was it the carousel that came from Gaslight Village in New York?
Yes, that's correct. How did you know that?
I actually rode that. I went all the way to New York to ride that.
Oh.
Turns out I could have just waited a few years and ridden it here.
Small world, Tim.
So, with the Christmas season now winding up, of course, so you say you are still open through the first weekend of January.
Absolutely. We're open through January 6th. And again, that's a great time to come. You know, kids are on school break, and it's huge crowds, and a lot of people find that's the only time they get to relax and enjoy the holidays once the work is done.
And one of the hallmarks, of course, of coming to Edaville is being able to ride on the train, whether it be the steam train or not, but and taking that ride through. And in previous years, when you came here and you rode the train, you'd be freezing cold, and you wouldn't be closed in like you are now. Now it's a much more comfortable ride than it has been in the past.
Absolutely. People like the heat, particularly in the winter. At the same time, they love the cool air in the summer when we take off the windows. So,
is there anything new to this season that's been added in for this year?
Well, actually, the layout of the park is almost entirely new. The first step of the process was in order to make this expansion, we actually have to move the tracks. So really, when people come, they'll notice things that they've seen before, but they're all in different places. There's a new Hobo Eats Village down in the back end of the Midway. Most of the things that are new are small and little magical Christmas touches. But we every year we reinvent ourselves anyway. We always make the displays new. We strive to have newness every year. So it's reminiscent of history and tradition, but gives people something exciting to keep coming back.
And to a hardcore Edaville guy like myself, I'll walk down and I'll notice, those dinosaurs are new. Just things like that I pick up on.
Dinosaurs.
I actually still go around to some of the people's yards that purchased the old exhibits and put them out in their yards, and I'll bring my son by and be like, hey, look, this used to be at Edaville,
Well, that's what the owner and general manager do here, too, this time of year, is they go around and buy up the old history.
And try to say, hey, how much to get that out of your yard and back in the park where it belongs?
You're right about that. Yeah, there's definitely a tradition of keeping tradition alive and well, and everything that we can get and bring to add to our tradition, we absolutely do that.
So now, until January 6th, we have the winter season, and then what's on tap for the summer months?
Really depends on how cold the winter is. We have a heavy construction schedule planned for the spring, and we'll definitely be open for some dates this summer, definitely Dan with Thomas, and hopefully a lot more summer dates. And obviously a full fall schedule. I think we're going to be doing Halloween a lot bigger this year.
Excellent.
Maybe the whole month long. I know.
As much as I love Christmas, Halloween, now I'm all about it.
I know you are. And then, of course, Christmas is always our bread and butter and our first love. And continue to be so.
New to this year was the season passes.
Actually, yeah, we did a very special season pass, actually, that it was kind of a gamble season pass that goes through the fall of next year. So if we're open all summer, we got the best deal in Edaville's history. We kind of just wanted people to get involved with and excited about the construction.
Sure.
Which is actually a pretty complicated thing, being on the sensitive ecological area we are, and digging up small places, you get some surprises.
Oh,
surprise!
And if everybody wants to keep up to date with everything, they can just go to edaville.com.
Absolutely. Actually, the most up to date is our Facebook, and that's also where we have our best offers, including we're going to have some great after Christmas specials. So go to facebook.com/EdavilleUSA.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Merry Christmas.
All right, thank you so much to Suzanne Byron and to Edaville for those tickets. We just gave away both pairs. Congratulations to Scott and Marlene. They were our winners, and they'll be able to attend Edaville Railroad and Edaville USA, as it's known now. And, these headphones are no better, by the way.
So it's your tag.
No, it's not. Now I'm convinced it's the patch cord. But we'll figure it out during the news. It's actually cutting out on me now. So we'll go for it. So everybody that's trying to call in, the tickets are gone, but thank you for trying. And everybody that did not win, hey, you can still check out Edaville on your own. There's coupons that are going to be out there, and as you heard Suzanne say in the interview, the tickets will be out there on the website and on Facebook for $5 off after Christmas. So the tickets will only be $13 a person, and included in that is a train ride. If you go on one of the Wednesday through Sunday dates, you get to ride the authentic steam train. So, but that is the winter report for Edaville. We'll let you know what's going on in the spring and the summer months, and hopefully, I don't want to give too much away, but we might be able to do some legend tripping there somewhere down the line.
With regards to Edaville, is there a limit on the age? Do kids, say, under 5 get in?
I think it's anybody over 2 is charged full price.
Okay. So
let me check the...
I just figured I might want to click, how young is the youngest?
I think it's under 2 and under is free. Because so much of the stuff they have there is for kids.
Yeah.
That, especially with the Polar Express events they do and the Day Out with Thomas events. Those are some of the more popular things there. So, Moniz, I got to ask you, as we're heading toward December 21st, what was on your mind? Because I know that you're pretty sure that there's some sort of, apocalypse coming sooner or later.
We have record of it.
Yeah, there's no doubt as a scientist you know that just as it begins, it so must end.
Right. I mean, it's just a matter of when in, our particular case. I mean, we've had a number of different types of apocalypses, if you want to look at it this in a scientific standpoint. We've had the world frozen over, taken over by fire, waters covered the planet, and we've had it in darkness and light and all sorts of conditions over and over again in this Earth's history, and we know that it's just going to continue. It's a matter of calculating when. That's the part we really don't have a good handle on, is when it's going to happen again.
Well, and I think it's because it could be such an abstract of when the date would be. It's almost incomprehensible, the age of the Earth, when we think about it. And even then, we're not 100% certain that we're right.
Right.
It's our best educated guess. And so therefore trying to predict an end would also be a best educated guess, and that education is reflective of the time in which that guess is made. So looking at the Mayan belief and the idea of their long count calendar, I mean, what was, for all the time that you've heard about this, and keep in mind that we've only really heard about this apocalyptic doomsday end of the Mayan calendar prediction within the last 10 years, I'd say.
Yes.
Maybe even a little bit less than that.
Actually, the basis of the end of the world apocalypse for Mayan things only comes from one temple in one area, and but the long count calendar is just a timekeeping device in the rest of the Mayan culture. It only became popular because of what somebody interpreted in just one temple. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, the reliefs that they were taken from were also still incomplete too, because of destruction to it. So you don't even really know if that was fully the case. But the long count calendar, or Baktuns as they are actually known as, go on into octillion of years is when the actual Mayan calendars end. And contrary to popular belief, there are still plenty of Mayans. I think there's still 800,000 of them.
That's a huge myth. There's a significant Mayan population in this area alone.
Yeah.
So that's a myth that the Mayans are no longer around. But the Mayan civilization is no longer around. Their great civilization did perish long before they predicted the world would end. And I should qualify that by saying that they didn't say the world was going to end, but long before we interpreted it to mean that. So, we got a phone call here. Let's take this call, but then I'm going to throw out a question to you and to the listeners as well.
All right.
Good evening. You're on Spooky Southcoast. Can we have your name, please?
Hey, did somebody already get the tickets?
Oh, yes, we already gave them away. Sorry about that.
Okay, 'cause it was ringing, so I guess that's probably why it was ringing, because you guys were probably answering the other call.
We were, but you can still check out Edaville before January 6th.
Okay, I'll do that.
Hey, thanks for listening. Happy holidays.
Very interesting.
Thank you so much.
So, okay, bye now.
All right, bye-bye. So I do want to throw it out there, this question of, we knew that nothing was going to happen. We were already making plans for January shows, so we were pretty sure that nothing was going to happen. 99%.
February events that we got coming up. Yeah.
Right, we're already selling tickets to Houghton Mansion, Haunting the Houghton, from legendtrips.com on April 5th to the 7th. So buy your tickets now. They make a great last-minute Christmas gift for the paranormal fan in your life. Just go to legendtrips.com to purchase those tickets. But still, in the back of your mind, there had to be the idea that you wanted to do something that you wanted to get done, just in case you were wrong and it was the end. There must have been some sort of preparation that you made. Was there anything at all that entered into your mind that, well, this could be the last time that I do this, or I might not get another chance to do this?
Well, I am kind of a prepper person to begin with. So, but my preparation is just out of just that, the need to be prepared in case something happens. It's not because, the Mayan calendar or, zombie apocalypse really actually happening. But there are chances, and especially the way we've seen this world going and this country going, it doesn't hurt to be prepared to be able to hunker down in your home or what have you, and be prepared for unrest that may happen for a few weeks or whatever.
But was there any moment where you were like, gee, I shouldn't have this second piece of cake for dessert, but then you're like, hey, you know what? The world might end tomorrow, so I might as well eat it now. Because what good would it do me to have it in the fridge when the world blows up?
Well, you know me and stuff like that. Yeah,
right,
I don't need the excuse for the end of the world.
So I just want to throw it out there to the listeners. If you had any end of the world preparations that you made or may still be making, give us a call. Let us know. 508-996-0500. 1-877-996-1420. You can also post it in the chat room on Spooky TV at SpookySouthcoast.com, or you can email us, SpookyCrew@SpookySouthcoast.com. But let's bring up our show's content director, our good friend Chris Balzano. And the air button isn't working. Hold on, let me just try this. Chris, are you with us?
Hello.
Okay, you're there.
How are you?
We're alive.
I spent my last 24 hours compiling my 24 favorite Spooky South Coast episodes.
That's not true, is it?
No, of course it's not true, but I wish I had. I
was going to say, because they're all tied for number one, aren't they? You've been on more than 24 times.
I have, I think, been on more than 24 times, yeah, but there were a few other ones that I wasn't involved in that actually I thought were pretty good, too.
I do have to point out here, it's amazing that we've done like over 300 episodes. We're actually coming up on our 7th anniversary next month, and I believe it's a Saturday night. I believe we're going to be on the air.
That's crazy. I mean, it's from that first conversation we had while you were already running. You guys have come so far, so it's an amazing job you're doing, and I'm glad that the world didn't end because we got some interesting people coming up. Hopefully.
Awesome. Well, were you making any kind of plans? Were you, even in the back of your mind, was there anything that you wanted to accomplish or have on hand just in case things went to hell?
No, I mean, I did a lot of studying, I wasn't sure how it was going to be coming. And so it's very weird. When I watch any of those kind of, apocalyptic shows, I always get in survival mode. I always get into like, yeah, that'd be really cool. Like, I never think if it's like a rapture kind of one where just like we all just burn except for a few people. I mean, I think of myself, more in the role of like, The Walking Dead, or even, The Stand, which has, the majority of people die, but there's like there's a month or so when everyone's still alive. So I always go into survival mode of like, where would I go? What would I do? How would I know? I mean, my wife and I, it was funny, we were saying about this is only kind of gained steam. I think this started gaining steam after the Nostradamus one didn't come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember planning for that because my wife was here in Florida and I was in Massachusetts, of like, okay, if the apocalypse happens, here's where we're going to meet till we find each other and blah, 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 and all this stuff like that. And now I just think about like how much beef jerky I would get. I feel like a really good thing to have in an apocalypse would be beef jerky because it doesn't seem to go bad.
Well, I wouldn't go with just beef. I'd get multitudes of different types of jerky.
Yeah, I think for some reason we have a fascination with the world ending, but we also have a fascination with kind of being survivalists, like being the last people on Earth, and kind of like would we rebuild society or would we just be in survival mode? And And what would we do if that happened? I mean, Doomsday Preppers is not just a popular show because you laugh at people that are crazy. You're like, how far would I go? Or what would I be doing?
Crazy?
I said the show Doomsday Preppers, not actual Doomsday Preppers.
Well, I mean, let's put it in Walking Dead terms for a minute, because so many of our listeners and our viewers are fans of the program. So, I mean, what would be the more idyllic situation for you if you were in that type of situation? Would you want to be part of the Rick camp where, you're surviving on your own and you're finding your own way in the world, or would you rather be one of the people who live under the governor and you're depending on somebody else to kind of take the reins and lead you and shelter you? And I'm talking all negative and positive, character development aside. I'm just saying between those two ways of living, which would you prefer?
I think we could probably have a whole show just on this one topic. So I'm glad you asked. Good question. Now, what were we going to say?
What I was going to say is it's funny how they've distilled it down in the way they've got it like that. In a political sense, liberal and conservative type of views still carried on into the apocalypse, so to speak. You've got the governor being more of a liberal type of government ruling over all, and then you've got the Rick type where everybody's fending for themselves, standing on their own merits and stuff like that, trying to eke out their existence that way.
Well, there are moments in Camp Rick, and definitely moments in the comic as well, where it's not nowhere near as liberal as it seems. I mean, even when the show comes around, and like, this is no longer democracy. And so I mean, you ultimately, I guess, have to follow that strong personality. But we're all kind of looking for that. In times of crisis, we're always like, okay, I don't have the slightest idea what to do. Who's the person who's the strongest? Who's the alpha? And most people just kind of squander that. I think it comes down to like a question of, where the governor in that camp seems to be much more of take the world, of being kind of like expanding their power as opposed to just surviving. And I've always thought of myself as much too laid back to be like that. Like, even if I was in survival mode, I would still be the one who is like, this is my place, this is what I defend, this is what and I don't care what's going on up there unless I need something or something like that, whereas opposed to, there's something there, are they a threat to us? Yeah, maybe not, let's just go take it anyway.
Right, so you're more of a, you're a Herschel.
You know what, I probably, either that or Glenn, but nowhere near as fast because I'm too fat. But I mean, other than I think I have a very Glenn personality. I'd want to be not the man, but the person that the man counts on for those little jobs. I think would be probably the best way to say it.
So if if we were wrong and we did have a catastrophic event happen last night, yesterday, at some point, yesterday morning, whatever occurred. Of course, we can't all get on the same page about that because we have these things called time zones. But if something catastrophic had happened, I mean, we've got to be pretty happy with the way that we've brought this show forward anyway. We can't be happy with the condition that we've left the world in, but at least when it comes to our little small microcosm of the globe that we call Spooky Southcoast, we've got to be pretty happy with what we've been able to accomplish over the years. And as we're coming up here on the end of 2012, I do want to say to you thank you for all that you brought to the show this year, and not only contributing but also helping us put together some of these great shows. And when you look back at some of the archives of what we've done, we've had some pretty outstanding topics this year.
Yeah, and I'd like to see a little bit of a shift, going a little old school in 2013, because as I was actually compiling my 24 favorite episodes that don't involve me, I was looking at some of the older guests, and I'm like, wow, we got to get some of these people back who are maybe they don't have a book out, but that should not be our motivation for presenting things. But we had a lot of really interesting ideas, and I would love to revisit some of those people now that the landscape has changed so much in 7 years.
Right, and
like what their reaction is to things that are going on now.
We have to get a little bit less reliant on them coming to us and having something to promote, and getting back to when we said, gee, I wonder what it would be like to talk about this, and let's see if we can find somebody that can do that.
Yeah, so I've actually been creating a little list of topics and people that I've heard that I'm just like, this is kind of interesting. Okay, I'm not sure how, relevant this is to today because there's not something you can then go out and, that's new on the market or something like that. But this is an idea that's still pretty kind of cool.
Right. Well, we'll definitely do all that. Now, can you stick around with us in the second hour?
Sure, if you'll have me.
Oh, we definitely will. We're going to take a break for the news coming up in just a couple minutes, but when we come back on the other side, we can talk about all kinds of things. We can talk more about some of the questions coming up in the chat room or whether or not, there's going to be another one of these doomsday predictions. So we can kick that topic around. And we can also talk about some holiday legends and lore as well, and we'll just have a big old free-for-all because basically, we're celebrating the fact that we're still here, and our three guests that were going to join us could not. So that's their loss.
I think the time locks on their bunkers were set for 2 weeks or longer.
So it's going to take a little while before they're communicado again.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do all that. Before we let everybody go, though, for the first hour here, I will remind everyone about that event that I spoke of just a few minutes ago, Haunting the Houghton. It'll be at the Houghton Mansion in North Adams, Massachusetts, April 5th through the 7th, 2013. And it's going to be a fantastic event because it's our first multi-night event, and we are going to be partying hard on that first night, Friday night, at the hotel that we're still finalizing all the deals with, but it'll be not that far from the Houghton Mansion itself, and we'll have some presentations. We'll go out for some drinks afterwards. We'll have a good time. We'll wake up probably a little bit later than we should on Saturday, but we'll have some things going on Saturday during the afternoon as well before the big event happens Saturday evening into Sunday early morning. We will investigate the Houghton Mansion. Ron Kolick from Ghost Chronicles and New England Ghost Project, he'll be with us, as well as Josh Mantello from Berkshire Paranormal Group, right, Chris?
Oh, yeah, Berkshire Paranormal.
And Josh is the man when it comes to all things at the Houghton Mansion. So he'll be part of this event as well. And, of course, the Spooky Crew and Jeff Belanger and we'll be up there leading the event and bringing people around to the different zones that we're going to investigate. And then even Sunday morning, we can all get together and have some breakfast afterwards. So it's going to be a great 3-day event, and we're looking forward to it. Again, it's April 5th through the 7th at the Houghton Mansion in North Adams, Massachusetts. It's a little bit of a drive for people around this area, but we are working out a hotel room deal. It looks like it's going to be about $112 a night for the hotel room, which is a really good price for that area, especially that time of year when people are still up there skiing. The fact that we can even hold on to some rooms and have them put aside some rooms for us is fantastic, and they're really helping us out huge with that. So just go to legendtrips.com if you want to purchase tickets. They're $149 each. That only includes admission to the event itself. That does not include the hotel room or any meals. Besides, of course, we'll give you a dinner on the night of the investigation, but everything else is not included. And also, you can, if you go to PayPal and you qualify, you can spread it out with their Bill Me Later plan. So check it out, legendtrips.com. We'll be right back with more after the news here on Spooky South Coast.
The station the South Coast turns to for local news, talk, weather, and sports. WBSM New Bedford, AM 1420, WBSM.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. The road to Christmas is already paved white and fluffy here. Seriously fun snow is already on the ground for these snowmobilers in Dane County, Wisconsin. They're making up for a mild winter last year.
It's the camaraderie, certainly. It's the riding fun. It's seeing the landscape. It's beautiful out there. And I think that just brings everybody together.
But along the Gulf Coast, an alert for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Forecasters say tornadoes are possible. Snow is predicted for the plains those days, as ABC News meteorologist Ginger Z.
Monday into Tuesday in that plains area, and then Tuesday into Wednesday when everybody starts going back after Christmas. Wednesday, Thursday, that is going to be really interesting to watch all those snow totals climbing, all the people trying to get back on the roads and on the airports, and all of that weather changing pretty dramatically.
Right now is not too late to shop for gifts in many areas of the U.S., as some retailers are open late or 24/7. This woman runs an olive oil shop in suburban Chicago.
People, because we had that extra week this year, were kind of like, well, I'll give it a week and then I'll go shopping. But I think that they're at their panic point now, and that they're like, I need to get my Christmas lists done.
A health advisory, hospitals across the U.S. recommended hepatitis C testing for nearly 8,000 patients last summer after a traveling medical worker was accused of infecting patients with tainted syringes in New Hampshire. But now, 5 months later, nearly half of those who may have been exposed have not yet been tested. A judge has ruled that Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, and NHL, and the NCAA can move forward with their legal battle against New Jersey's plans to allow sports gambling. We wouldn't be against anybody offering him safe haven, but we don't plan to, says Russia's foreign minister, now welcoming any country's offer to take in embattled Syrian President Bashar Assad, but with no plans for Russia to do so. Syrian rebel forces have been making advances, and Russia may be preparing for one of its key allies to be without Assad. You're listening to ABC News.
Introducing a faster way to push to talk. AT&T Enhanced Push to Talk. AT&T delivers more of what your business needs. Instant communication, up to 1,000 contacts, plus a broad array of devices and platforms. Visit att.com/enhancedptt3 to get your business started with a free Samsung Rugby Pro. You push to talk, we pushed it further. AT&T, rethink possible.
Limited time offer. Free phone on new activations only. Requires 2-year commitment to eligible voice and data plans plus activation of AT&T Enhanced Push to Talk service.
Only the Home Depot has kiddo worry-free smoke alarms from just $24.97. A sealed lithium battery keeps these alarms working for 10 years so you never change batteries. With 4 models for specific rooms in your home, like a lighted hallway alarm or voice alert bedroom alarm, upgrade your smoke alarms and set your worries aside for 10 years. Kiddo worry-free smoke alarms starting at just $24.97. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. U.S. only. See store for details.
A 14-month-old falling one story off a cruise ship's deck led to the ship turning around back to Port Canaveral, Florida. ABC's Carla Ray in Orlando.
What was supposed to be a family vacation turned to chaos aboard the Royal Caribbean Monarch of the Seas. The cruise ship was set for a 3-day sail to the Bahamas around 4:30 Friday afternoon. Shortly into the trip, in a split second, a 1-year-old toddler somehow got out of the sight of his or her father and slipped through a railing.
The child was taken to a hospital. You could call this a timely resignation, and ABC's Tom Rivers at our foreign desk in London explains why.
Egypt State TV says Vice President Mahmoud Mekki has resigned, and it was announced with more than 5 hours to go of voting in the second and final phase of a referendum on a disputed Islamist-backed constitution. Mekki, a career judge, had said in the past he hoped to quit once that charter was formally adopted. The new constitution eliminates his job, the vice presidential post.
Facebook's out with a new iPhone app, Poke. That's already the top free app in the App Store. ABC News technology editor Joanna Stern.
It's a messaging app where messages self-destruct in 10 seconds or less. So you pick a friend that you want to message, you send them whatever you want to send them, a text message, you can send them a photo or even a video. Then you select if you want it to self-destruct in 10 or 5 or 3 seconds.
And Stern says there's definitely a lot of talk that this is Facebook's sexting app. This is ABC News.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-895-8035. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Donate your vehicle and you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-895-8035. That's 1-800-895-8035.
Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
This is Jack Peterson with the latest featured animals up for adoption at the Forever Paws Animal Shelter at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River. Monroe is a handsome tan and white 4-year-old American Bulldog Stratfordshire Terrier mix with cropped ears. Monroe does get excited to see people and would be best placed in a home with children 10 or older. He's slightly deaf, has a great personality, and loves everyone. Petey is a white 2-year-old American Stratfordshire Terrier mix with cropped ears and a docked tail. Petey's very smart, listens well, loves to learn, and is eager to please. He's very friendly and has a loyal personality. Monroe and Petey both have cropped ears, but what a huge heart they have. Let's give them the love they deserve and bring them home for the holidays. For more information, call the shelter at 508-677-9154, 508-677-9154, or visit their website, foreverpaws.com.
Welcome to Spooky
talking with you about the paranormal. That's what we do. We talk about other things too, but we're not nearly as good talking about that stuff as we are talking about the paranormal. And joining us on the phone lines is the content director for Spooky South Coast and SpookySouthCoast.com, Christopher Balzano. And Chris, I haven't had a chance to tell you, but we have one of our friends here on the program is putting together a potential new show for Spooky TV.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Can you, are you allowed to say the idea behind it, or?
Well, I guess it's going to be similar to our format. It's going to emanate from a radio station. I don't know if it's going to broadcast over the radio as well, but it's going to be recorded in the station and broadcast over Spooky TV. So I'll send you all the details privately because I don't want to make a formal announcement yet until everything is secured. But from one of the young up-and-comers in the local paranormal scene who Moniz knows very well. He's a really tall kid. You know who I'm talking about?
I believe so.
Okay. So we'll wait till we can make a formal announcement. But, anytime we can get more programming on Spooky TV and on the Spooky Alternative podcast feed, those are great things. I know we've kind of been behind in keeping up with Spooky Alternative with the holidays upon us, but hopefully that's something we can get back into a little bit more next year.
Yes, with the midterms, I should say, and things like that. So our school schedule is different than up in Massachusetts. So especially the last 3 weeks have all been about trying to get a whole bunch of middle schoolers to not fail out. So, better days to come.
Yeah, that was the issue that I had was it's a very difficult time with me work-wise and then trying to get everything together for the holidays and everything. But, we'll have some fun with it. It's there, and it's in. People can check it out, and anybody that wants to contribute that has an idea for a program, either for Spooky TV or maybe you just want to do it as a podcast, maybe you want to do it as both, just reach out to us, Spooky Crew, at SpookySouthCoast.com. There's really no restraints in broadcasting these two mediums, except, we'd like you to keep it classy. But other than that, really, you have the free form to say whatever you want. So, Chris, people would be crazy not to take us up on this offer, right?
Yeah, and we don't even really care whether they're sane or not. They don't have to be classy because the beauty of Spooky Alternative is you just don't download that show.
Right.
With iTunes especially, it's a slip of your finger to get rid of it if you don't want to get rid of it. So if you like something like Voices from the Past or any of the upcoming shows that we've got going on, it's a slip of the finger, or don't subscribe to it and just check it out every week.
Right. Yeah. We just don't want people using it as a forum to launch attacks and to slander other people.
Right.
But outside of that, no matter how crazy or quirky you might feel your idea is, there's room for it. If sanity was a requirement for this program, we wouldn't have made it to our 7th anniversary.
Well, it's like I said, I've been going actually because I'm trying to find someone's email address to get in touch with them about something. I've been going through some very old emails back of the Pararelation days, and even before that, and I was thinking wow, some of the ideas that I had back then, some of the things that I've never explored because things went one way or things went the other way. I think 2013, let's say 2003 was going to be a really interesting year. I'm totally into this, numerology thing of cycles because 2012 so much mirrored my 2002. That it was just, I'm totally ready for this year to end. But 2003 was a really productive year for me, a very important year for me. So I'm feeling that there's a lot of interesting things coming up both on the Spooky South Coast front and also on the Balzano front.
You want another interesting little piece of numerology?
Yeah.
The Bucktoon, or the long count, is 144,000 days long.
Okay.
And during the apocalypse or the great, rapture, only 144,000 people were supposed to be saved.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when you start doing numbers like that, it's really crazy. I was doing some experiments in my math class, and I just said, okay, I want you guys to all, told all the different classes, I want you guys to just notice how many 16s you have. And it's an informal homework assignment. I'll give you extra credit. Just make a list of all the times 16 between now when I just said it and tomorrow when I check in with you. And I told every class a different number. And it was insane how many times, they were able to come up with those numbers when they started looking for them, because they're out there. And you were doing your angel show last week, so people should listen to that if they didn't have a chance yet. And that's all that kept running through my head was this idea I have that, my angels, not sure how spiritual they are or where they lie into kind of the range of the things you guys talked about, what angels might be. But one of the things I know for sure is that they offer signs all the time. And when I don't follow those signs, bad things happen. When I follow those signs, interesting things happen. Not always like immediately, explosively amazing, but they put me on very interesting paths. So I love to hear about those kinds of number things. Although we can become obsessed with them too.
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, I know somebody who is very obsessed with the numbers, and they kind of break everything down and try to figure out the numerological meaning to things before they even go through with them. And the problem with that is it all depends on how you're looking at those numbers and how you're basing those decisions. And it's almost like I look at it more as you're not looking for guidance as much as you're looking for a scapegoat when something goes wrong. It's not about making sure you follow the right path. It's who to blame when the path goes wrong.
And there's, we were talking, earlier in the year when the Colorado shootings had happened, and I was making these connections between those shootings and Batman and the Denver International Airport. And at some point I realized that I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Everything is connected because I am connecting it. And so we really can kind of become, we can see things that aren't there. And then you think, well, are they there? Are they really there? Or am I making them up? Or am I making them up because they're actually there and I'm the only sane person in the world? Or am I, just becoming too kind of consumed with this? So it's just, I guess it's kind of like, the arguments we made about a lot of paranormal. So it's really difficult to keep your sanity when you're doing those kinds of things.
Well, one of the things that we've been discussing here tonight is the idea of the holidays and sharing some of these holiday stories. And I decided, you know what, that might be a little bit too cheery and rosy for me tonight. That's not exactly how I'm feeling tonight. So I want to take a cue from a number of other radio programs that are out there, and I'm not talking about paranormal radio programs, but just radio shows in general. I listen to a lot of sports radio, a lot of news talk. Chris, I know you listen to a lot of NPR, so you probably heard a similar theme program where people kind of take these end-of-the-year shows and they yell out some of their grievances from 2012. They clear the air.
So, when do we have the feats of strength and the poll?
I'm looking to have a chance for people to get off their chest what bothers them about the paranormal field in 2012.
Wow.
And then we'll do the feats of strength in the Festivus poll.
No, there'll be the feats of strength we'll have to put on hold till I'm not sick, because I feel like I wouldn't be up to my normal strength. But the poll is fine.
Oh, I thought
the airing of grievances.
Yeah, well, we're doing the airing.
The airing of the grievances is something that I think goes beyond just Festivus. As much as it's a required part of celebrating the holiday, I think it's a necessary part of moving forward from one year to another anyway. Usually when we're on the couch, because I don't go out on New Year's Eve. Normally when we're out on the couch and we're sitting there watching television, hopefully the Three Stooges marathon or the Twilight Zone marathon. Sometimes it's, Ryan Seacrest. It just depends on what episodes they're showing of either of the other marathons. But
Walking Dead marathon.
Well, I've already watched all those, so and I find it to be interesting, but I don't really worship that show as much as other people do, and so once is enough for me on most episodes. But that's my own opinion. And but we'll be sitting on the couch, and I'll say, hey, you know what really sucked about this year? And it's not a formal airing of the grievances, but it's what pops in your head. It's getting rid of all the bad vibes and bad energy as we move forward. So I'll throw open the phone lines: 508-996-0500, 1-877-996-1420. What bothered you about the paranormal this year? And we don't have to get into too specifics. I don't want to hear 10 people calling up and being like, "Oh, Houdini bothered me this year." Oh, excuse me, but what is it that bothered you about the paranormal this year? And I'm going to throw this out there as my own way to start it off, and I'll let you guys say what you want about this. And I'm not disparaging anybody who does this. Chris and I started a company called Power Relations a few years ago, where the idea was to go forward with helping those who might not be media savvy enough with getting the word out there about themselves or their projects. We weren't looking to make anybody stars. We were just looking to help them get a wider audience for what it is they want to do, and maybe not even get a wider audience, Chris, but to at least be knowledgeable in approaching media coverage for themselves and for their work. Because as you and I know, working in this field, that if people don't come at us with the right approach, we just throw it away. If a press release isn't in the proper format, we don't bother to read it. So that was the idea behind that. But there seems to be a new focus on paranormal, air quotes here, talent. And such would result in the need for talent agents to handle the paranormal. Now, Lara Calhoun and some of these people, they do a great job in representing people in the paranormal field and helping them book gigs and helping them get into conferences and different projects and other things like that. And I'm not putting down their work because they're very committed to helping people. I'm just scratching my head at why we think we need to have that.
Right, and it's and the odd thing is that a talent agent in theory, bankers or brokers, they get a deal for someone, and they're really like brokering between nothing or a little of something, and it's other than the fact that if you're looking for a paranormal person, the person should be genuine, which I think shines through, and so now you're trying to people who aren't making a lot of money on this are kind of giving the impression that they can make a lot of money because someone is out there recruiting them or managing them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure whether if your grievance is along that lines, but it creates this kind of in my head when I hear that, it creates this kind of impression that that there's so much money and there's so much of a gold ring or a brass ring to be grabbed for that you have to have something over someone.
And that kind of creates a lot of the, and I hate to throw this word out there again because I'm going to throw up in my mouth as I say it, but the drama that's out there, the jealousy that happens is because, somebody will be represented by a talent agent, and so therefore that makes them feel or makes the perception be there that they may be more viable than somebody who doesn't. And that isn't necessarily the case. They're just somebody who's willing to, share a percentage of whatever they make from somebody who's going to help them navigate the waters. I mean, for a lot of people in this field, it's very, very part-time. So if they can bring somebody on board that's going to help them some time-saving measures and helping them book these events and get out there more. If you said to me right now, hey, Tim, I'm going to get you booked into 5, conferences this year, and you just got to give me a percentage of what you get for them, I'd be like, yeah, sure, go ahead, because there's no way I'm going to spend the time to find the 5 conferences I can make it to on the dates that I'm available,
right.
Contact the owners and work out the deals. And, so many people, I talk to a number of people who will go appear at a conference, and you'll find out that they paid their own way to get there. They put themselves up in the hotel room, and they didn't get paid for going to the event. All they got out of it was a free ticket, and they gave somebody a hour-and-a-half lecture for free.
Right.
Sorry,
I remember back in our Paralations day, we had a prominent paranormal radio host who we were talking to, and his approach to us was, I just don't want to deal with this. I've got all this stuff. I want someone to just, negotiate, tell me where I'm going. It's almost more of rather than public relations, we were business managers.
Right.
Or we were event coordinators for him. And it was appealing to do, but the fact of the matter was there was an appeal and a draw for this person. You know what I'm saying? He had the people approaching him, and he thought that he would be able to have more of that with someone to work those things out. The problem with all these talent agents is they're creating a market that doesn't really exist. And so instead of taking someone who is popular who needs kind of help managing those things, instead they're taking people who aren't popular and saying, I can make you very popular. And so they're kind of offering them a kind of a shallow bag of goods.
Well, I think that we can have a show coming up in the future where we discuss this more in depth. We can bring in some of these paranormal talent agents and talk to them about their approach, and maybe bring in some people that work in the talent industry outside of the paranormal and see what their thoughts are on whether or not this is a viable thing. Because it is something that I think is going to be more prominent in 2013 as there's more people looking for the opportunity than there are opportunities looking for the people.
Right.
So, and again, as I'm saying, like I can't tell you if this is a good thing for you to get involved in because I don't know what these talent agents can deliver. I don't know what they promise. I do know that I have been doing some investigating into some of their work and seeing their client list and realizing I don't know who any of these people are. And I don't know that if I'm just a run-of-the-mill person trying to put something together in the paranormal that I'd want to hire these people if I don't know who they are. So it's definitely a topic that airs some more, deserves some more airtime later on down the line. Moniz, just what are your thoughts real quick as somebody who has kind of shied away from the spotlight over the years as an investigator? Now, you've stepped into the spotlight over the last few years as a host of this show and as an oddball on 30-odd Minutes, but that's not to be insulting in any way. I don't mean this to sound bad. That's Moniz the character. Even though that's you, and that is 100% you seem to have a very healthy disconnect between what you need to do in front of the camera and what you need to do in the field. You know what I'm saying? You can go on TV and be goofy and still have no problem showing up at somebody's house saying that you're there to help them with their issue.
Right.
When I say character with you, I mean it in the lovingest sense of the word.
Oh, no, I'll be the first one to admit, oh, yeah, I am most definitely a character.
Right.
Best taken in moderation. But I shied away from doing these things. Usually when I'm asked to do these things on television or these events, I generally do it for friends to help them out. And most of the time, I try to stay away from the limelight, so to speak. I'm here because I know everybody and I've been all of the places and I'm associated with everything. But for the most part, I think it takes away when we have a lot of these people all being experts away from the actual item that we're all looking at.
Right. And it for every weekend that you're out there, lecturing at a conference and building up your resume, that's great. But that's a weekend that you're spending away from why you got in this in the first place. Unless maybe that is the reason why you got in this in the first place. I mean, it's crazy, Chris. But Moniz is a guy who, when we have the Legend Trips events and everybody is paid for their time that runs these events. And when I hand him the check to pay him, he tries to give it back and he's like, "No, put this towards something." I'm like, "No. Like, you've earned this." And he just doesn't have that connection of thinking like, I can get paid for doing this.
I never really got paid for doing it in the past. I don't want, to me, if I'm taking money for it, then I've lost why I'm doing it in the first place. I'm doing this for answers, not accolades, not cash, not fame or anything. I'm doing this because I seriously want to know what the heck's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple.
Well, we have a call on the line. Let's see, maybe this is somebody that wants to share a paranormal grievance. Good evening. You're on Spooky Southcoast. How are you? Hello? All right. Well, maybe they got disconnected. If you want to call in, 508-996-0500, 1-877-996-1420. Spooky Crew at SpookySouthcoast.com is the email address, and the chat room is at SpookyTV at SpookySouthcoast.com. Just go to our website, click on the live show tab at the top, and go to Spooky TV with chat room, and you'll be able to jump in. You can do so anonymously if you want, and you can share some of your grievances as well. Chris, what's bothered you about the paranormal field this year?
Wow. So I would probably say my biggest grievance is, I don't want to get too much into this, other than to air it, would be, paranormal people feeling the need to share things that are not paranormal with me. In their political beliefs and their, and all forms of things. Like, I don't care who you're arguing with. I don't care who you don't like. I don't care how you vote. I don't care what you think about gun control. I don't care what you think about, these different kinds of things. It's kind of one of those things where I've got my good friends in the paranormal and people who, wow, like you and I can have a conversation about something non-paranormal related, and that's cool. But then there's a group of people who I'm just interested in what you're doing in the paranormal field.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is when you all of a sudden get that microphone, you get that megaphone, and people are listening to you, or people following you on the social media, all of a sudden you start talking about other things, that totally just turns me off, because I'm like, I want to hear what you were talking about this. Like, this was interesting to me. What you're saying now kind of turns me off. And even if I don't necessarily believe in you, or I share a similar political view or a view about, I might think this person's a jerk too, I kind of don't want to spend my time doing that with you. You're my paranormal person. You're not you've never proven to me necessarily that I should listen to your beliefs.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily...
So that's... But, and obviously, well, then you just don't follow me or don't do this. But it's like, but I like this part of you.
Right.
And what's happening is you're using your paranormal audience to sell a bag of goods for something else completely.
I don't think that's just a paranormal issue. I think that's something that's, society-wide with social media and social networking the way that it is. I mean, we get a chance to hear what everybody thinks about everything. We see pictures of what somebody ate for dinner. They let us know when they had a bowel movement. Sometimes they tweet pictures of that bowel movement. I mean, we live in a TMI/TMZ society right now where, people either want to share too much with us, or people want to find out things that they shouldn't know about the people who don't want to share.
Yeah, but you're looking at it in the sense that on Facebook or any of these social medias, a person is a whole unit. The paranormal is just one aspect of them. People are multifaceted. And unfortunately or fortunately, depending upon which way you want to look at it, their other interests are what you're going to get. So you can't separate what you want out of a person from what all of the parts that they are. I mean, as much as people may have hated Hitler, I'm sure he had a couple of little shining points that other people might, just like, they say he was an artist.
He was a terrible artist.
But the point being is,
I think you need to find a new example besides Hitler. I think you're going to have a hard time stretching that one out to fit your argument. Stay away from Hitler. You might want to avoid,
How about Stalin?
You should taste his eggs, though. The man could
make Hitler could make an omelet.
But the point being is that there are other factors that, you can take out of somebody else. Just because...
But I think, and Chris, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think what Chris is meaning here is his interaction with those people. We're not talking about people, Chris, I'm assuming you mean not people that you become friends with. I mean, you'll take that part of my personality, Matt's personality, Jeff's personality, other people that you've met in this field that you've become friends with beyond the paranormal connection. But you're talking about just the people in general who you've maybe contacted on what we'll call a professional basis within this field, who suddenly feel like, they need to share all that stuff with you.
And I'm also talking about personal conversations with them as well, within a paranormal context. Like, I'm talking, paranormal things with them, and all of a sudden they're just going, well, what about this? And, in the same way, I don't care what Tom Cruise thinks about gun control, and I don't care what, someone I'm watching on television has to do with something that's not the television show that I watch them for. I think that some of the people who I just have a paranormal relationship with, I just kind of want to say it that way. And more importantly, like...
Then how do you say TV celebrities? They do TV shows and then come out and be activists for this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah, I don't care so much about that. I don't want them to be that for me. I like to compartmentalize, okay? I still think that they're on the island and lost. I've never watched the last episode of Homicide, believing that, they're all still in Baltimore hanging out solving crime. I mean, those things are kind of that way for me. Like, I don't want to read my, Michael J. Fox's biography about his illness. Well, I think it's a tragedy. He's still Michael J. Keaton or, Marty McFly to me. I don't want their personal stuff. I don't want it. And the paranormal field has kind of started to do that as well. Both in terms of the people who are more recognizable and more visible to larger audiences, because they're on television shows, but then also, just the people that I know them in one certain way, and I don't care what they... And if they say, okay, here's a picture of my kid, I'm like, all right, that's okay. But then it's all of a sudden it's like, come to this investigation, or during this investigation, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they start getting into political things, and I'm like, that's a total turnoff.
Well, I think that there's a line that can be drawn, and the problem is that line has become so blurred with people that, and I don't want to say Facebook can be pointed to as the problem, but I see it as being the problem. I mean, I'm somebody that uses it, and I use it to keep in contact with people and to promote things as well. And I think the problem is you might put yourself out there as, say, and this is just an example, Matt Moniz, paranormal investigator. Okay? I convinced Matt Moniz, who did not want to have people, random people on his personal page. He tried to keep that limited to just people that he knew on a personal basis. So I convinced him to have a public page.
Right.
So he has that. He doesn't update it nearly as frequently as he should. He puts some really good stuff on his personal page that would be equally good on the public page and will be fitting in it, but
I will put my my little quotes on there if that's what you want.
And I'm trying to get him to link it to a Twitter account, but that's a whole new ball of wax.
I refuse to join Twitter.
Well, Twitter would be different if it was just a reflection of your Facebook public page, but we'll talk about that off there. But if he all of a sudden, well, I was going to say, if he all of a sudden on his public Facebook page started sharing the same things that he does on his private Facebook page,
I would never do that.
but I'm just saying, if you were somebody to do that, I'm using this example because you have that clear line of differentiation. But if you have somebody like Matt who does that, and all of a sudden, just one time, they put their stance on, say, gun control on their public page, and 4, 5, 6, 25 people that are fans of that page like that post, well, then that person feels empowered to post more of that kind of thing up there.
Right.
But meanwhile, they're just liking that post because they like Matt Moniz or said person, so they're just trying to support that person for airing out their view. Hey, I'm proud of you, Matt, for sharing what you think about that. Like. So, but therefore, the person then thinks, well, they want to hear more about what I think about things.
Right. It feeds that the audience is feeding that kind of ego, but also that kind of like, hey, wait a minute. That feeling that we all have of, wow, people really care what I say. People are responding to what I say. Let me say more.
Right. And
if we're airing grievances, I'd like to do the opposite for 1 second, and I think 2012 was a great year for Moniz quotes on his page. And the best part about them, which I wish everyone would do, is that he quotes himself.
Right.
So
yes.
He says something, and then he puts his name as said by Matt Moniz.
It's because
and
it is.
because it is, and that attitude is one that more people should adopt. I should say.
But one thing people should not do is what my buddy Steve King does, and they should not like everything that they post on Facebook immediately after posting it. It's like he can't stop doing it now because everybody just knows that he's going to do it. He'll put up something and then immediately he'll like it. Like, of course you like it. It's your own post.
Right, my mom does that too. It seems to be a function of the elderly.
Well, Steve's my age, so let's hope it's not just an elderly thing. But
well, I am glad that you like my little Monizisms, as people have called them, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm stealing them and collecting them, and I'm going to publish a book, preferably through Schiffer, of just quotes for Moniz.
That's why I'm trying to push Moniz into the Twitterverse, because if he does that, if he links a Twitter account to that page, then those tweets will go out there, and that'll just increase their visibility, and they'll go out there more, and they'll be spread around. Next thing you know, you'll get a book deal and a TV show deal. Like
I don't want a book.
I know, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, like the guy that did the Bleep My Dad Says.
Well, actually, I would like a book deal, but I would like a book deal to do the book I want to do.
If you let me continue to where I was going, you'll get to do a TV show with William Shatner playing you, because that's what happened.
Are you saying I'm that old?
No, the kid Justin Halpern started his own Twitter account of things that his dad said. They turned it into a television show and got William Shatner to play his dad. How great is that?
Okay. No, but if you want, I'll start putting. You said you've got all those posts, then why don't you forward them over to Tim, and we'll put them on the public account, and from now on, I post 2 or 3 a week at least, and I'll start putting them on there.
Yeah,
that'll make it easier for you, and then I'll let you make a public Twitter for that.
Exactly, and that's where they'll be linked up for. And that's a way that, people, Matt's going to be, at this place speaking, I mean, it's just a way to, that's what social media is good for. The bad side of it is, everybody's info is in your face, and that's something you never have to worry about with Moniz because he doesn't put his info out there. He'll put his thoughts.
Not on my public.
You can tell on your private page when something has gotten you riled up enough that you feel that you have to share. But that's why you have just your friends and close acquaintances on there. Well, Moniz, what's bothered you about the paranormal this year? And I don't want to say that you're, you're usually very vocal when things get on your nerves, and I haven't really heard you complain a lot this year about things bugging you, but I'm sure that there's been something that's kind of, raised your haunches up a bit in the paranormal this year.
Yeah, a couple of things. I think probably one of the most major things that's gotten me aggravated is there's been a rash of people hoaxing stuff and passing it off as being legitimate. And I'm not just talking the Aaron Houdini thing. I'm talking it's become rampant over the past year. Everybody trying to pass off things that are obviously faked. And a bit of, let's call it pilfering, like they're stealing, photographs and passing it off as theirs that were legitimate. We started the year with that and stuff. Thankfully, it's diminished because that doesn't help the field. Anytime you start creating false things, it doesn't really help matters. The other thing that's gotten me aggravated is we started getting a little bit better as far as groups and people sharing things, and now we've gone back again.
It's regressed back.
Back to this is my place.
One step forward, two step back.
Yeah. Everybody keeps talking about the paranormal unity. You're not really going to ever see a unity in the paranormal. Know why? Because you don't see it in any other type of organization. How often do you see people, agreeing on everything in Little League or in music or, you're always going to have dissension. You're always going to have somebody that's going to be the bad apple and whatever.
Well, not even that, but just differing opinions.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It does make a difference in if it's the paranormal or tiddlywinks. You're going to have that. What we could strive for is a paranormal standardization, which will help gain a little bit of I don't want to use let's use the term respect. Because that's
the bumper sticker that I want to put out in 2013. Respect, not unity. And whenever anybody calls this show and says paranormal unity, I want to jump on them and say, no, paranormal respect. Because it's
right.
Unity is that it's become such a I apologize for all my coughing and throat clearing tonight, but it's become so Pollyanna, so idealized that it can never happen the way that people are envisioning it. And you've been doing this for a long time, Moniz, and you have enough trouble just getting somebody else that's investigated the same location as you to agree with your methodology of how you did it, let alone everything else about your style and your results.
One thing we can do is take, like I keep saying this over and over again, take a page out of MUFON's book. I've been a member of MUFON years ago, and I still do work with them and stuff. But what they do is they have a standard protocol. Not everybody likes it. Not everybody agrees with it. But it's a singular point that everybody can utilize. We know that this is point A, this is point B, point C, and the steps are clearly marked out along the way, and then you produce your results from following said SOP. We could do the same thing in the paranormal, and once you've completed everything in that SOP, if you want to put addendums to it, your own spin, your own style, your own other methodologies to it, that's fine, as long as we cover basics A, B, and C. That's not being done.
Well, the difference being, standard operating procedure won't work when the people who are utilizing it aren't trained in that fashion. You're dumping that on them now, when they've already had their approach that's worked for them over the years. Whereas with yourself, as you're being trained as a scientist, you're learning that methodology as you're going along. And there's
everybody goes through the same process learning how to drive a car.
No, not necessarily.
Well, for the most part.
Because, somebody's dad might teach them to hold the wheel with one hand at the top.
But we all follow the same rules on the road, is what I'm saying.
But the point being, though, is those little differentiations that people make, you're not going to be able to break them of it. And it could be those differentiations that are causing the friction from one to the other. I think we kind of do have a standard method of investigating to some degree. We all pretty much want to make sure that there's nobody around that isn't supposed to be there. We want to make sure that we have control of the environment. We want to make sure that we get baseline readings if we're using those devices. You know what I mean? But the problem is there's so many different approaches that can be used that you've got to kind of standardize each one. Okay, well, here's the procedure if you're going to investigate with an EMF meter. Here's the procedure if you're going to investigate with a medium. And there's so much fluctuation and differentiation between them that it's kind of hard to get everybody on that same page.
That's why, like I said, you get one SOP, one protocol, and put it under a ruling body. Not ruling.
But that one protocol might not work from case to case. It's okay when you're working with things that we have a solid understanding of, and that you can say, okay, this will react to this. But when we don't know what they're reacting to, we have to have it wide open so we can try all different kinds of things.
Well, luckily for us, there's a piece of literature already out there. Picture yourself hunting ghosts.
It's still available too.
So,
well, I do want to get back to the first point that you made, though, Moniz, and the idea of people passing off evidence, faked evidence, as being real. And here's where it bothers me the most about that, because there's two different camps when it comes to that. You have the group of people who are passing off faked evidence as real, trying to get themselves more notoriety, getting on my ghost story, things of that nature. And then you have the other people who are putting it out there and who don't, and some of those people too, I should mention, that when they get caught, they try to do that turnaround thing. Well, I was just putting out hoaxed evidence to see if anybody picked up on it. That doesn't work. That's like, somebody getting caught cheating on their wife, and when they find out, they'll be like, well, I just want to make sure she still loved me enough to care. It's it doesn't work that way. And the other camp being the people who are putting out faked evidence, and you can tell them that, and they just won't listen, and they'll attack you for saying so. And I'm starting to really wonder if there's a mental disconnect with some of these people.
One through intent, one through ignorance. Meaning faking, one putting it out through clear and present intent, and the other group is through ignorance. They don't realize that it's fake.
No, I mean, the ignorant people are the ones who, might take a picture of a camera strap and not realize it's a camera strap, and you tell them it's a camera strap, and they still insist it's a ghost. But that's always happened.
That through ignorance.
But that's always been the case as long as I've been doing this, and I'm sure well before that. But the bigger problem to me is the people that will put out a picture of a ghost app, a picture that was taken with a ghost app on a camera phone, and you will tell them that's from the ghost app, and they will swear up and down that it isn't, and they'll go to great lengths to go against what it is that you're saying. And as Dave's pointing out, they'll call him a bully for doing that, because I've witnessed that happen this year with Dave and with other people. And for somebody to fight that hard when they're basically caught passing off fake evidence, I worry about what is wrong with that person mentally. And there seems to be more and more of those people that are having that issue. Has the paranormal and the pursuit of the paranormal and the popularization of the pursuit of the paranormal played into some people's, psychoses? Because there's some really hard nuts to crack out there when it comes to convincing them that, that what they put out there is fake, because I don't know if they believe that it's fake. Even though they acquired it through fake means, they still think it's real.
Yeah.
Chris, we had you on the show that night that you shared that photo with us. You got a photo that blew you away, and it turned out to be from a ghost app, but you would have sworn that those people were telling you the truth, right?
Well, the funny thing is that I it was too good to be real, and I wanted to believe in the person who had sent it to me.
Right. You didn't believe in the picture, but you believed in the person.
Right. Because it was a parent of one of my students who had approached me hours earlier and said, I really want to talk to you about this because I've had experiences my whole life, and I want some understanding of this, and I also want to share it with someone, and blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden she turned around and did that, and I was like, well, wait a minute, what you're saying? What is your motivation for doing this? I don't get it. And then when I confronted her, she was like, and it wasn't confronting, it was more of just like, oh, that's interesting because this and this. She said, well, it was actually a friend that sent it to me. And so maybe that friend just didn't know. And it's like what you're saying, it was, well, why were you testing me? Were you honestly, it's a messed up world we live in because we have to juggle those. This goes for all paranormal fields. You have to juggle the integrity of the evidence as well as the integrity of the person giving you the evidence as well as the integrity of the situation that the evidence was gathered in. And it's really, and that's probably why so many people can attach themselves to a story as opposed to evidence, which is why the general public isn't as sold on the evidence that paranormal investigators gather, but they're more willing to understand a story that someone has experienced.
It was a banner year, 2012 was, for the paranormal, and it was also, I think, a further bit of descent into the decline of paranormal pop culture. Which is...
I would say the quality of paranormal pop culture, but by no means the proliferation of it.
I think when we had a show about paranormal pop culture debut on television, and not last very long, but I think that is kind of a sign that, things are going downhill.
Yeah, and I mean, the encouraging thing is that, while there are many more paranormal shows in the works, reality shows, there also seems to be, which is a good part of it, the scripted paranormal shows. And maybe getting back to some of that stuff where we can easily differentiate between something that's being presented to us as fiction and something that's presented as fact but is fiction, and there might be a few gems in there. So, it's definitely, this was a year for, I think, renewal of an interest in, but once again, I think a renewal of an interest in the story of the paranormal as opposed to the evidence of it.
Well, I don't want to say that we're groundbreakers, but we are. And we closed out 2011 saying that we really wanted to see 2012 be the year where we get away from the hardcore investigation and more toward the storytelling. Get back into the ghost stories of why we got interested in this topic to begin with. And I think the TV shows, if you looked at what came out in 2012 and what's coming out in the future, they're less about following a team along on an investigation, and they're more about people sharing their paranormal experiences while there's a dramatic recreation happening on screen. We're seeing more of those type of shows than we are seeing the investigation type shows, and I think that's going to do a lot more to keep the paranormal in the forefront going forward than 100 clones of ghost hunters.
Yeah, and that's encouraging for those people who love, so those people who are in the paranormal, because maybe it'll kind of bring their focus back to that. Because like I said, past couple of years I've been talking about that as a much more interesting thing, but I still think that people like to go out there and touch it, and I think that that it's perfectly okay to want to do that, and you should kind of want to do that. You should kind of want to get out there and maybe experience something and stuff like that. But just to understand that, it's really kind of, it's interesting. Matt said earlier that he wants to prove the existence of something, and I think that I would love to see 2013, be about embracing the not understanding of it and kind of what can we gather from that as people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the investigators are the backbone of keeping the paranormal going. The ones who are out there investigating it and the people who do want to touch it, as you said. But I think in terms of continuing the acceptance of that, then it's dependent on the storytelling. You know what I mean? It's dependent on the sharing of the experience so much as the proof or the disproof of whether or not it actually exists.
Yeah, and making it, I think a lot of people have kind of gone overturned, like just people in the general public are, I've stopped saying that, I'm a paranormal investigator, and I've started saying more that I've written books about people's experiences, because I've actually found that people are less willing to share their experiences, especially this year, for fear of, it's something that can't be proven. So once again, I've gone back to being a loony. Mm-hmm. Because I can't prove what happened to me, and there's no evidence, there's no investigation, I have no pictures, I just have these experiences and these feelings and these ideas that kind of get sparked. And so, I'm hoping that kind of starts to dissipate again.
Well, I do think that there needs to be more of a focus on, as Moniz and I were saying, respect going forward in 2013. There needs to be more of a focus on, if you're in the field and you want to do it, then just do it. Don't be so concerned about what everybody else is doing.
Nike will now want in
They can put me in the Marv Applewhite camp of people who just co-opt their phrases. But they need to focus on doing the job and letting that stand for itself instead of making themselves into celebrities, instead of trying to get yourself on a TV show and doing all this stuff. Because, what was it that people always said? Well, when I get on the TV show or when I get into the newspaper, that benefits my group because that increases our exposure and then we get more cases. Well, that kind of doesn't fly anymore. If you're out there and people need you, they'll find you. The thing that will actually increase your help more, and it's what got people like Taps the TV show to begin with, is because you are out there doing it. Now, we can say whatever we want about what's happened since they got a TV show, but they got that TV show because they had that reputation because they were out there doing it. They weren't out there, every weekend at some conference giving lectures, and they weren't, in pitch meetings with all these networks, and they weren't filming their own pilots and sending them out there, as far as we know. So, I'm just saying, I don't know that they didn't, but if you believe the public backstory of it, they were approached for a newspaper article because they had a large client base and they had a long history of servicing the public. And so that led to the magazine article. That magazine article kind of caught the attention of TV producers, and then a TV show was born. So if that's the way that it happens for you, then that's very organic, and that's good. But if you're out there seeking the spotlight for something that you're going to do in the future, then it kind of doesn't work that way.
I can verify that they were around in the early 90s.
Right. But I'm just saying, I don't know that they didn't put it out there to networks, hey, we'd like to do a TV show. I'm just saying the story that we've been told publicly is that, they had no interest in that and that they actually were talked into it.
Okay.
And one of the things, too, that, for example, and I sent you an email on this today, Chris. I don't think I mentioned it to Moniz, but, there was somebody in the paranormal field, we won't name any names because we've said his name enough over the last few weeks, but he's launching a website on New Year's Eve, and he's selling advertising. And he's selling it with a named price, guaranteeing that his website is going to get tons of traffic. Well, it's very hard to sell something to somebody with a promise.
Right.
Especially when you don't have a proven track record in that. It's one thing if you're a TV show and you're like, Stephen Boschko is putting on a new drama, advertisers buy some time because it's going to be huge, because that's a proven entity who's delivered before. But when you're in the midst of chaos and you're putting out there like, hey, I'm going to get you tons of traffic, it's very weird. That being said, if anybody would like to advertise on Spooky Southcoast in 2013, please contact me, tim@SpookySouthcoast.com, because, it's time. We've been doing this for 7 years now. It'll be 7 years next month. And we've always given you a commercial-free podcast, except for a few things we promoted here and there. And I think it's time to start squeezing in some advertisement and getting some money for the program.
Spooky sponsors.
Nothing wrong with that, right? That doesn't take away our integrity.
Whatever happened to those weirdos from Nitbits? Why did they stop advertising?
They got overwhelmed with orders and haven't put anything up there in a while.
You know, I think the other aspect of what you're talking about is, I think that the current approach to the paranormal, leads to some serious, depressing situations and emotional situations, and when even if it's just like the Facebook thing we were talking about earlier, when you set yourself up as a paranormal celebrity or someone that, when those people stop following you and stop wanting your opinion on things, it becomes, a kind of a dark place for a lot of people.
Right. Well,
I was talking with Jeff earlier this week about some stuff, and I cited an article I had written for Ghost Village, a few years ago about how I interviewed a whole bunch of people in November, a whole bunch of investigators in November who I had just, they had just been mentioned in a newspaper article.
We got about 1 minute, Chris, just so you know.
Okay, and then, I went back to them 6 months later, and all of them were kind of railing against the media and how the people hadn't returned their phone calls and how things hadn't, and I think that there's a very natural thing for happen if the paranormal becomes kind of this, or, continues to be this kind of, audience-seeking aspect, when that audience is no longer that much interested, and they're very fickle, which is why that other website I don't think would work. There's emptiness that's very genuine, hardcore to your soul sometimes for some people, because they've invested their self into this. And those people who are, fly by night, stop, and they take it as a personal thing.
Well, that does it for this week's show. We are out of time. We'll be back next week, though. We get somebody booked for next week, Chris?
We don't currently, because...
Oh, more paranormal grievances, then. If you do have anything you want to share, we'll take them next year, but next week. But we'll have a whole new show to talk about a variety of different topics. So come back next Saturday night, 10:15 or so p.m., until midnight, and always check us out online, SpookySouthcoast.com, on iTunes, on YouTube, and check out the Spooky Alternative feed as well. And we'll be back next week, so... until then, for Matt Moniz, for Matt Koss, for Chris Balzano, we want you all to stay spooktacular and have a very Merry Christmas. Not afraid to say it.
Assured listener.
Supernatural is something that isn't supposed to.
The station the South Coast turns to for local news, talk, weather, and sports. WBSM New Bedford, AM 1420, WBSM.
From ABC News, I'm Todd Ed. Hoping for a white Christmas. Be careful what you wish for. Depending on what part of the country you're in, Christmas Eve could kick off some severe storms. There's also a snowstorm that could impact folks trying to get back home after the holidays. ABC's Ginger Z in New York has the latest forecast.
Monday into Tuesday in that Plains area, and then Tuesday into Wednesday when everybody starts going back after Christmas, Wednesday, Thursday, that is going to be really interesting to watch all those snow totals climbing, all the people trying to get back on the roads and on the airports, and all of that weather changing pretty dramatically.
And a windy Christmas. There may be isolated tornadoes in parts of the Gulf states, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. High winds delayed arrivals at a busy travel hub Saturday. ABC's Richard Reeves at Dulles Airport.
They actually had to have planes change runways, moving runway landings around because of concerns about crosswinds. A lot of passengers tell us they were dealing with some turbulence.
Is the looming fiscal cliff on the minds of many shoppers? During the holidays, the President and Congress began their vacations without a tax deal. ABC's David Curley has new information on behind-the-scenes negotiations.
The Wall Street Journal, quoting unnamed sources, says when the Speaker offered $800 billion in revenue by limiting deductions, the Speaker asked, "What do I get?" The President reportedly responded, "You get nothing. I get that for free."
Mourners gathered Saturday in Newtown, Connecticut for the final funerals for victims from the school shooting that killed 20 children, 6 teachers. ABC's Aaron Katersky reports.
First graders Josephine Gay, Anna Grace Marquez Green, and Emily Parker are the last to be buried, ending an unbearable week of funerals. The Newtown school superintendent told mourners the community's sense of safety has been shattered, but out of the ashes of an indescribable event, she said she has seen the spirit of Newtown.
Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood says the disputed constitution received a yes majority in the